The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com. Hello and welcome to another live episode of Wrestling with Johners on this fine Thursday evening, episode 379. And I've got an awesome guest for a weekday evening, none other than the first ever and the reigning defending OTT European Champion and one half of the three-time Progress World Tag Team Champions. He's worth every pound. I've got Charlie Sterling back on the show. Charlie, great to have you back on the show. It's been well over 3 years, probably approaching 4 years since you were last on the show. But how the devil are you, my friend?
It's been way too long, John. It's way too long. And you've got a cracking intro there, by the way. Fantastic. I enjoyed watching that.
No. It's a good little video, isn't it? It's a little bit Jimi Hendrix vibes there, but there we go, just something that I put together. But we will be breaking it down over the next hour or so with Charlie Sterling. So we are live, of course, across my YouTube channel. And we have surpassed 5,000 subscribers this week. I think we're closing in on 5,200 subscribers. So thank you to everybody that subscribed. Thank you to everybody that's watching now. Even if you're watching on replay, thank you very much. Don't forget to hit that like button. Tune in to even more fantastic guests like I have this evening. And I'll be telling you my very next guest very, very soon. But Charlie, like I say, it's been a long time since you were last on. And when we last spoke to you, it was July 2021. So the doors to British wrestling hadn't reopened yet. We were still in the pandemic era, or so to speak. But you'd already formed your tag team with Nick Riley as one half of the Smoking Aces behind closed doors during the pandemic, the Peckham era of Progress. But you hadn't yet performed as a tag team in front of fans. You hadn't made your debut for Wrestle Carnival. I think we were gearing up for that, and your debut match against I can't remember who it was now. And you were also advertising and promoting your World Championship match against Cara Noir that was going to be airing that following week on the WWE Network. So that kind of demonstrates how long ago we last had you on the show. Pretty mind blowing, isn't it?
That entire period seems like ages ago now. You know, it just seems like the whole world has just come back to normal. You have this conversation a million times with a million people, and it just does that. A particular era felt, feels kind of, just feels a long time ago now. Yeah, very surreal. Stoic really is weird, but
absolutely. And I've been telling so many people that I think British wrestling came out of it slowly. It took a year or two to get back onto its feet. Certainly by the end of 2022, going into 2023, I think 23 and 24 was a great year for British wrestling, but it took a little while to find its feet coming out of the pandemic. And you've kind of seen every inch of it since the doors reopened. But do you think that British wrestling is kind of back to its best, if not better, in 2025?
I would say so. Yes, absolutely. I think the British scene is fantastic at the moment. I think the boom of wrestling back in 17, 18 brought some people into the business that maybe hadn't even thought about being professional wrestlers. And now those people 5, 6, 7 years on have now gained the experience to now be at a level where they've essentially brought up the scene. And I've, like you said, I've been through it all. I've seen people come through, and I think it's great at the moment. I think there are shows up and down this country that are doing phenomenally well, and same with the wrestlers who are on board.
Yeah, 100%. And just a quick reminder, if this is your first time tuning into Wrestling with Johners, thank you very much. And like I said, we will have a fantastic conversation with Worth Every Pound, the Smoking Ace, Charlie Sterling. But just a quick reminder, this is my 7th live interview of 2025. And just to quickly flash up some of the guests that I've had in 2025, the year kicked off with Kid Lycos 2, followed very quickly by Hustle Malone, that spectacular twat, Charles Crowley, was also graced us with his presence in January. February was a strong month with Liam Jones coming onto the show, one of the very best heavyweights on the UK scene. And he's got some great years ahead of him. 2025 is definitely going to be his year. A couple of weeks ago, we had former WWE NXT UK star Amir Jordan join us. And last week, Bevan, the bastard son, graced us with his presence once again, a couple of years after he was last on the show. Now, in a bit of an exclusive, my next guest is probably somebody that Charlie is quite familiar with. But next Wednesday, that's going to be the 12th of March at 8 p.m., our usual start time, we've got none other than the one-man armory, Bullet, coming back onto the show. And it's been over 2 years since we last had Bullet on the show. So it's going to be great to have him back on to catch up on everything that he's been up to in the last couple of years. But there we go. We've had some top guests already, this year, and Bullet gracing us with his presence once again next week. Now, I haven't seen yourself and Bullet in the Electric Ballroom or in a Progress Ring as one half of, or part of Dominatus Radium for a little while. Do you still keep in touch with Bullet?
I saw Ben the other weekend. Big
Oh.
Bullet, Big Ben. I saw him the other weekend. We were on the same show together, and he's grumpy as ever, bless him. And I'm sure you'll have a cracking conversation with him next week. I hope you tune in for that. He's a guy who is very talented, a very, very talented wrestler, and he's an interesting one because he hasn't been around. I mean, this will figure out next week, but he's been on the scene later in his life, in his career, and I think he's a wonderful natural. And I watched him and Lycos 2 have a match at Progress not long ago, and it was incredible. And I advise anyone to go and watch it. Great guy, great talent, and I'm sure you'll have a great conversation.
Absolutely. We'll have a good catch up with Bullet next Wednesday at 8 o'clock. But today it's all about this guy here, Charlie Sterling, of course, the smoking ace, and just bringing up some pictures. In fact, I'm probably getting ahead of myself because I want to talk about probably nearly 2 weeks ago now, and you were over in Qatar. I think possibly your first appearance for QPW over in Qatar. It was a red hot show, an absolutely stacked card featuring some of the biggest names in professional wrestling, former WWE, former AEW, and some of the top names from around Europe and further afield. But first of all, we'll talk about the match because your opponent was the Maharaja, Raj Desi, the former WWE champion. Just remind me of his name.
Jinder Mahal.
Jinder Mahal. Sorry, Raj, if you're watching. But the former Jinder Mahal, former WWE champion. But before we talk about that match, Charlie, tell us a little bit about your Qatar experience and getting over there. I think it's possibly your first time working over there. What was it like for you?
I mean, it was my first time in the Middle East in general. It's amazing what this business can do and where it can take you, especially as a professional. 1 minute you're in Bognor Regis, and the next minute you're on your way to Qatar. It's a wild business, and I was truly grateful to go and get the opportunity to go there with the guys. I believe they've been going over for 10 years now, on and off, maybe more, over a period of time. And the guys there were really, really nice. Really looked after us and treated us really well. And we went over for a few days before, got to experience the country, or got to experience Doha, Qatar, the area, and then we worked towards the shows that were on the weekend. And I competed against Jinder Mahal that weekend.
You did indeed. Let's bring up some pictures. I started bringing up some pictures earlier. There you are. Can I make a new entrance? And there he is, Raj Desi, the Maharaja, formerly Jinder Mahal. And, I'd say this actually kicked off the show. I think it was Super Slam 3 pay-per-view for QPW. And as we can tell there was a slight issue with the bottom rope there, Charlie. But enlighten us, what was it like to work Raj, especially kicking off the show, and especially that happening with the bottom rope almost from the bell?
It was a great chance, great opportunity to wrestle a former world champion, and I was a little nervous, going into the match, but I was confident with what I could do and how I can perform. I've been doing this for a while now, so it was a great chance to just wrestle someone who has been on that stage before, and I love wrestling guys, especially the Americans. It's giving them coming over, giving them a good time and bump around for them. But pretty easy. We'd ran the first spot of the match, and we had a cutoff coming in where Raj was coming off the top rope, and I stopped him by putting the ref in the way. I threw the ref off of me. Old Tom Scarborough, bless him. Shout out to him. And as I threw him to the side, I think he must have touched the ropes, and the bottom rope just sprang off the bottom. we've been in situations like that. You're trained as a professional to deal with these situations, and these do happen occasionally. And anyway, I threw Raj off the top rope, saw my opportunity, picked it up, and started whacking him with it and choking with it. You know,
There you go. You
my
got to
argument was
improvise.
my argument was, John, is that the rope is not a foreign object. I didn't bring it to the ring; it was already part of the ring, so it's not foreign, so I can use it.
100%, 100%. And you know, on Raj, and obviously we know that he had a tenured career with WWE, and like I say, many accolades, including being the former WWE champion. But was it noticeable being in the ring with a talent like that? That he'd kind of been on the under in that machine and in that kind of under that WWE umbrella for so many years. Was it noticeable when wrestling him? You know, I'm guessing it was maybe different to the talent you would typically work with over here in the UK, maybe.
I never treat anyone differently when I'm wrestling them. They're all, everyone is a great performer. Everyone has great performance in their own rights. He has performance. He is a great performer in his own right as well. He's a great wrestler. Other people are great wrestlers in their own right. I never ever take it for granted who I'm wrestling, and so I am immensely confident in what I can do in the ring. And wrestling at someone of that stature was a great opportunity for me, and I saw it as that, as a great chance to get in with someone who has been to the top. And it wasn't, it was a great opportunity, but I wasn't nervous or anything. I really,
Yeah,
really enjoyed that. We enjoyed the moment. I stopped. I took a second and I said, "Hey, this is a great chance for me to wrestle a former world champion and have a bit of fun." And I like to put my own little sparkle in my matches, my own little stamp on my own matches, in the way I sell, the way I move, the way I attack. Um, and so no doubt I left my own little mark in that match, which is what I aim to do whenever I wrestle, no matter who it is.
absolutely, absolutely. And like I say, I'm sure you get opportunities to go back over to Qatar in the future. But definitely delivered there with Raj. Now we were speaking before we went
Unfortunately,
live.
unfortunately, honest, it,
Well,
unfortunately, honest, it should be said that I did lose. So I
well,
didn't
I
go over.
know.
I didn't go over and have a successful trip. I lost, but hey, he's the world champ.
There we
I'd
go.
love to
There
do
we
it
go.
again. He owes me a rematch, I think. I think he owes me one.
That's the point I was getting to. He owes you a rematch. He owes you a rematch. But
Yeah.
there we go. Much more fun to be had over there. But I mean, this year marks officially 12 years of yourself being in the game on the British wrestling circuit. Do you ever get a chance to kind of sit back and kind of reflect on your journey within the business, reflect on your 12 years in the business so far? And like I say, you're regarded up and down the country as one of the very best pros, whether it be in singles competition or tag team competition. But do you ever get a chance to kind of sit back, relax, and reflect on your career? And have you done so recently, Charlie?
I've got some big changes coming up in my career at the moment, coming from tag team wrestling, um, especially in the UK, which I'm sure we'll touch on eventually.
Mm,
Um, so recently, I have had a little moment to sort of sit back and go, "Hey, let's have a look at what I've done, what I haven't done." There's always what you haven't done, and I think as wrestlers, we tend to focus on that a lot more than what we have actually achieved. And for me, the train never stops. It's still moving full pace. I have not really sat down and looked at the past and gone, "Hey, I did this, I did this, I did this." I still have a lot to achieve and I still have a lot to do. I'm still very hungry and I still want to be, well, I want to carry on and continue being one of the best in the UK. And then eventually, well, some people say I'm really good and be in the upper echelon of Europe. And I'd like to take the world on one day as well, which is my plan over the next few years.
yeah.
So to answer your question, not really, but it's conversations like this where we can look back and have a little look at what I've been up to in the recent years.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what we intend to do. And you know, as an athlete, as a competitor, as an overall performer, pro wrestler, kind of, well, where do you see yourself in terms of the 2025 Charlie Sterling that we have before us? Is this the best version of Charlie Sterling we've ever had?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is the best one. I mean, every year is the best one. You develop every year, you never stop learning,
Mm,
and you never stop growing and developing. I feel like when you stop growing and developing and you stop wanting to, I think that's when you need to consider your position in the business. But um, forever growing, forever learning, forever grateful to be able to do what I love to do. And And yeah, we're not stopping yet. We've got a this is just the start. We're open. We've got just the beginning for Charlie Sterling. We're opening up now, and the next few years are going to be fun for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I may have neglected to mention at the top of the show, but we are live. So please send us in your questions and your comments for Charlie Sterling. So just ping them through to us using your chosen device, and we'll do our very best to answer every single one. We've had a few drop in already, and a few that sent to me before we went live. But I want to talk about this guy here next, a guy you know very, very well, Nick Riley. And last month at the most recent Pro Wrestling Chaos show down in Bristol, he kind of surprised and shocked many of the audience, and I was there to witness it in person. He announced he's stepping away from the business and officially retiring after many years in the business himself. But I mean, I know that you're in contact with Nick all the time, one of his best friends in the business. But I think he said, or he may have said in the ring that night, that you've been trying to, get him to stay longer and longer. Every single time he brings up the subject of retirement, you're kind of no, let's do this, let's do that. But when he finally made up his mind and told you that he was stepping away, what was your reaction?
It wasn't surprising because he's been speaking about it for a long time. The not I say a long time. It's been over like the last couple of years that he's been considering sort of stepping away and walking away from the business. And yeah, I have been pushing at him and trying to keep him, and I have done. I've been successful, Jonathan. For the last 12 months, I've been very successful in keeping that man in the wrestling business. I go at him with dates all the time. Want to wrestle here? Want to wrestle there? Want to wrestle here? But but to answer your question, no, it wasn't surprising, and it hasn't been surprising. Nick lives a very busy life, and I do recommend you get him on and have a chat to him because he's been in this business for about 16, 17 years, and I think it might be a 16th year, I'm not sure, but he's been in this business a long time, and he's seen some people and spoken to some people, worked with some people, and he's got a great mind for the business. I love how Nicky thinks. We're both very different, but at the same time very similar. But no, I'm not surprised. He has a very busy personal life that includes family, and that's it. And you'll see with the chaos build-ups, father first. That's where Nicky's at. He's getting on now. He's nearly 40, and I think he might be nearly 40 this year. And
I'm sure he'll appreciate you reminding him of that.
I'm sure he'll also correct me. But he's at the stage now where he's ready to go, and I'm very grateful and very glad that he has been on the last his sort of last few years have been tagging with me. He's a great tag partner, and I'm sure we'll go into some more of that very shortly.
Yeah.
But no, to answer your question, not surprised, but just grateful that he's able to do it on his terms.
Yeah, and I mean, you alluded to it there, and it's the Pro Wrestling Chaos documentary they did on Nick just after he announced Father First documentary, which is available on Pro Wrestling Chaos's YouTube channel. I checked it out a couple of days ago in preparation for this, but a good 15-minute insight into his career, his journey, and his thoughts and his reasons behind stepping away, hanging up the boots, or leaving the boots in the center of the ring. But one of the interesting things that he brought up in that documentary, Charlie, was how you kind of, spend all this time planning matches. And just as you were about to go through the curtain, Charlie, he said, whoa, let's change this spot, or let's change that spot. That you were notorious for changing spots just as you were about to go out. Any truth to that rumor there, spread by Nick Riley?
I'm profusely denying any of that. That's absolute rubbish. I'm not difficult to work with, and I do not change things on the fly ever, Jonas. Ever. I think I even tried to do it with Jinder in Qatar. Actually, I think I said to him just before we went out, I was like, "Should we do this and this and this?" He's like, "No." But yeah, I wrestle a lot with Adam Maxted, and he hates me for it. But there's absolutely no truth at all about it whatsoever. I know he's talking about he's lying.
It may have happened once. He did say during the documentary that you've got better at doing it, but you don't do it so much nowadays. So maybe he's kicked you in the shins a few times.
I'll push so far, Jonas, and then I back off when I know I'm getting in trouble.
You know your limits.
But
You know your
that's
limits.
that's that's but that's us as wrestlers, you know. We've got to test each other. We've got to put ourselves in difficult situations, in awkward situations, because this is a business where we are in live entertainment,
Mm,
and the crowd dictates what we're going to do. Not all the time, but the majority of what we do in our wrestling matches should be dictated by the audience. And if there's a sudden change, if the first match has gone on and they're not liking what they see, switch it up, change it up. But that's just my advice to other wrestlers. But don't be afraid to just change it up. If you've got the whole match planned, don't be afraid to change it up and find out what works. But
yeah.
hey, come to my seminars if you want more information about that.
Another thing that you mentioned during the Pro Wrestling Chaos documentary was how, I mean, he obviously shone a massive light on yourself as good friend and tag team partner, calling you one of the most gifted athletes in the UK. But I mean, he's obviously a very humble gentleman, and I think that you'll probably be able to tell us right now, kind of what a fantastic athlete he is, because I mean I've seen him for a number of years, mostly as one half of the Aces in Progress, of course, and various other places. But whenever I see him in the ring, he's 1,000 miles per hour, doing some crazy death-defying leap from some balcony or somewhere or another. But he is a consummate pro. He's a pro's pro, and I think he's kind of flown under a lot of people's radar for a number of years. Certain companies like Progress and Pro Wrestling Chaos, Chaos especially, where he's like a living legend to the fans there, in Chaos. But he really is a special talent of his own, isn't he?
Yeah, you said it yourself. He's a very special talent, and he's my tag team partner. Like, I wouldn't have picked him as a tag team partner if I didn't necessarily pick him. We were thrown together, but we made this work because we trust each
Yeah.
other, because we trust each other's gifts and talents. And I think he is one of the best wrestlers that's ever stepped foot in this country. He's fantastic, and he's got a great mind for the business in terms of certain aspects of matches, which there's certain parts of matches which he just gets, and I don't get that, and he gets it, and that's where our tag team was so good together. It was because I was able to take this element of the match, this element of the match, and Nick would take this element, and we'd push it together, and it would sparkle and do well. And I'm not saying everything was a success. You try and fail, but he was and is still a great professional wrestling talent, and I will miss him dearly when he leaves. I will miss him dearly when he stops. We'll still be friends. We'll talk every day, and I'll send him all sorts of nonsense, as I always do all the time, and get his opinion. I always ask him. They said in the documentary, I say, "What do you think of this? What do you think of that?" Because I'm always trying silly things, and he tells me yes and he tells me no, which is important. But yeah, a great talent on the balcony stuff. He's also fearless. He's a fearless professional
Mm,
wrestler, and for a man who's his age, and he's hurt a little bit. One time he tore his groin up. Oh my god, you should have seen the state of his groin. Oh my god, it's black and blue. But he continued to wrestle, and he did it in a great way. And on that balcony dive, yeah. So my idea, I said, I go to the guys, I go, a bit of inside here. I go to the guys, the bosses. I go, can we dive off the balcony? And they go, "Oh, don't know about that because that's a bad idea for you." I go, me? I'm not doing it. Nick's doing it. I haven't told him yet. And I haven't told him yet. And he's looking at me going, what? Oh, okay. So the plan for him was just to stand on the balcony, just on the side here, just here's us, and just fall, bosh, take us out. Instead, Nick says, "Nah, scrap that." Runs to the other side, heads at 100 miles an hour, and just flip dives over the balcony. I have no idea he's coming. Flip dive over the balcony, takes us all out. And that's Nick.
yeah.
That's Nick in general. We'll tell him to do something. I mean, yeah, we're both a bit like this in his own right. He'll go, "All right, let's do this, but I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll make it my own, and we'll do this, and I'll do a flip instead." That's Nick Riley in a nutshell, really. Great,
Absolutely.
great
Yeah.
talent, great mind for the business, and I will miss him dearly for that reason.
What do you think his legacy on the British wrestling scene will be when he does finally hang up the boots? And obviously, like I say, he's had great runs in various promotions around the UK, but I think he'll be more well known for the work he did in Pro Wrestling Chaos and Progress. But will he be leaving behind a lasting legacy based on his impact and what he has given to the business?
I'll be honest with you. One of the one things about Nick, which will be in his legacy, is he's just such a nice guy. Just such a nice guy, like a lovely man, like lovely to work with. And amongst the wrestlers, that's how he will go down. It's just someone who is a great wrestler, reliable, and just absolutely lovely to work with, and just a nice person in general. You know, you don't get many nice people in wrestling. You just don't. And he is one of the really nice ones, really good ones. In terms of his wrestling, yeah, he'll go down as a three-time Progress World Champion and World Tag Team Champion, and our little stint, hopefully, um, over the last 5 years, 4 years, however long it's been at Progress, has earned him a position in the memories of the fans there at the ballroom.
1,000%, 1,000%. Now, he did say in the ring when he announced his retirement last month that his final match will be on April the 26th. But he's going to have a couple of final matches because now, let me just bring up this graphic. The 15th of March, so next weekend, I'm guessing, his second to last match at Dark Road to Chaos will be against, well, one of the most talented young performers on the UK, on the worldwide scene, dare I say it, Leon Cage, which is going to be a fantastic match for both individuals. But he does have that final match, April the 26th. Now, I think if you were to ask any Pro Wrestling Chaos fan, who would they like to be Nick Riley's final opponent? I think a lot of them might say yourself, Mr. Sterling. Is that a possibility? And is it a match you would like to have one-on-one with Nick Riley in his last ever match?
Well, it's Nick's decision ultimately. I think
Yeah,
management have asked him. They've said, who do you want to work with the last couple of shows? And I know he said Leon for the 15th.
yeah,
Great chance for Nick and Leon to have a very special match there at Chaos. I mean, Leon is an anomaly of the world. He is going to be he'll be on our screens for years to come, no doubt. A great professional wrestling talent, and as young as he is, excellent. And Nick is the other side of the coin. He's a wonderful talent, and the end of his career. It's it's
yeah.
it's an interesting match there. So as you match up, and I'll be watching it. It's gonna be really good. Um, in terms of the April show, I know he hasn't made his decision yet. I know he doesn't know who he wants to wrestle. I believe he will at some point. I hope so. But whether it be me, ah, I
Who
don't know.
knows? I
Who
suppose
knows?
fans need to be at the March 15th show to maybe get a little bit of an inkling as to who Nick's final opponent might be on the
Yeah.
26th of April.
And
So
and who's to
get your
s- who's
tickets.
to say who's to say it's not a tag match? Who's to say it's not a three-way? Who's to say
Good
it's not a
point.
four-way? I know they've asked me, what match do you want to have? So
Mm.
no one knows yet. He's keeping that close to his chest. I've tried to pry it out of him every day, but he won't give it to me. So
There we go. And I want to concentrate on progress and yourself as one half of the Smoking Aces. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, you are three-time world tag team champions in progress, and cumulatively, your cumulative total of days is the longest ever. I think 633 days in total. Your three reigns have amounted to, and that's only going to grow up until your next and final match of progress, which we will talk about. But what does it mean to you? As a competitor, as a 12-year pro in this business, what does it mean to you to be a three-time Progress World Tag Team Champion then, Charlie?
I mean, before we even joined Progress, Progress was white hot. They were one of the biggest promotions on the scene. They were the reason, a lot of the reason why that and a few other companies, why the boom even happened in this country. You know what I mean? So for me, it was always a goal to wrestle at Progress. And I was just coming up, got my opportunity. Unfortunately, after it all went wrong in the world, but it was a great opportunity to help the rebuild and start building back uh, a company that so renowned in this country. And when we won the tag titles, originally it was behind closed doors, and then we went back into the first show in front of an audience against the Sunshine Machine, actually, and we were unknown. Well, not necessarily unknown, but we had not been seen live. So when we went out as baby faces, as good guys, and the crowd didn't have much interest in us. In a way, we were kind of shoved down their throats as champions. We had not earned the belts. and we had to begin a bit of a slog and a bit of a well, basically trying to earn the respect of the ballroom as the months went by. Um, Eventually, I think we had a few run-ins with 0121, and we had the Sunshine Machine. We were going back and forth as a trio,
Mm,
eventually leading to a big ladder match in the May, I believe, and I think we won that. I think I can't remember, but um, maybe we didn't. No, we didn't. We didn't win because I went through a surfboard. I remember that. I went through a
yeah,
surfboard, but
that was at Strong Style, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I
yeah,
remember that very vividly.
we found ourselves sort of trying to win the audience over, but what the division really needed was a pair of heels, and what the division really required is an antagonist to those two incredible tag teams, the 0121 and the Sunshine Machine. The 0121 didn't do much tagging after that, but the Sunshine Machine stayed around, which eventually led to Sanity and other tag teams that came through, like us, Jim, that came through. And really, truly, the company needs some antagonists, and that's where, as I'm sure we'll touch on, Nikki and I then moved in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to bring up some pictures of yourself and Nick in a Progress ring as Progress Tag Team Champions and other belts that you're holding there. But that was possibly from one of your earlier runs. And like I say, some great pictures here of yourself and Nick Riley as Tag Team Champions. Looking very proud, very happy with your accomplishments there. And some more pictures. But, and of course, last year you were voted by the fans Progress Tag Team of the Year for 2024. But more recently, you have switched up your presentation a little bit. Certainly on your entrance, the mask, the music switch up as well. Maybe to a certain degree in what you're wearing when you come down to the ring and have some of your battles. And I've got some pictures here. I think when you first debuted the masks, former presidents of the United States, is that Nixon and Reagan there,
Mm.
with yourself and Nick underneath the guys. And of course, we know you very well as part of the faction or formerly of the faction, Dominatus Regnum. But tell us a little bit about your current personas and presentations. Certainly, the switch up in the music is another brick in the wall, or certainly a version of Pink Floyd's classic. The entrance, the mask, and kind of the slightly switched up attitude that you've been bringing to a Progress ring since your recent run.
Yeah, we've definitely tuned it up a little bit since Dominatus Regnum sort of went our separate ways. We were definitely more of the stooges of the group, if you will, the Patson and Briscoe, the guys sent by the boss to deal with the trouble and often get our asses kicked
Yeah.
and then sent on our merry way. We had a cracking street fight with Lycos Jim a time ago. We came out dressed in double denim and like like a real sort of set back to the 80s and things like that. Which I love that. I love that time in our world. The 80s, 90s, great time, great fashion as well. And I'm a big fan of the music from there as well as it's not only just the wrestling, the music, the fashion, everything from that time
Mm.
is really fun and colorful. And it relates to our singlets as well. The singlets is a throwback to the Steiners and their style back in the day, the 80s look. Um, and that's same with the music. Their Pink Floyd song is a great song, and it's more of a synth version. But I I really like that one. I found it and I sent to Nick. I said we should use this, and he wasn't too sure, but we ran with it, and it's going to be my music for the foreseeable because I love it, and it's got a nice presence to it and a nice eerie feel, which as a villain it's kind of what I want.
And the masks kind of give a whole new element or the
Yeah,
dimension to you, especially coming out in those. It's almost like you've just come from a heist. Just robbed a
yeah,
bank, and now you're about to cause chaos in the electric ballroom. But
uh,
how did you kind of come across the masks? And obviously, I think they've been a big switch up to your entrance, and I think they kind of give the right impression as well, the right vibe.
so Nikki came up with so Nikki loves I can't remember what the film's called now. I'm trying to think. What's the film called? He's gonna kill me. I can't remember what it's called.
Was it
Uh,
Point Break?
Point Break. Point Break is the film, and we were discussing when we because I was off. We haven't discussed that, but I was off. I had 6 months off of injury, right? I tore my knee up. Um, I was in 2020.
23.
2023. I was wrestling on the 23rd of December, 2 days before Christmas in Dublin, wrestling the great Sean Guinness, and I went to the top rope, and I know he's going to come. Right, here's the deal. So I'm coming to the top rope. I put Sean Guinness down, bang, body slam. I'm climbing to the top rope, and I can see him, and I know he's about to come up and give me a superplex off the top. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'm great for this. I'm coming for this. As I'm climbing, my right knee locks up like this, and I can't move it. I'm going, oh my god, my right knee's stuck, and Sean Guinness is about to run up the top rope and give me a superplex from the top rope. And I'm like, my knee's locked up. So of course, thinking on the spot, I need to get my leg free, and I just kick it straight out from the lock position. What I didn't know at the time was I just torn my meniscus to pieces. He comes up, gives me the superplex. I grab my knee, completely no sound of superplex, and then look at my knee and be like, "Wow, Jesus, what's just happened?" And I tore my meniscus right there, and that was in December 23, and I wrestled on it for another 2 months.
No,
I was
crazy.
Progress Tag Team Champion at the time, and we were going into a match with Sanity in the February, and I'd phoned the guys and I said, "Hey guys, I'm sorry, I've hurt myself here." When he got it checked out, turns out I tore my meniscus. Doctor's like, "No wrestling, like done. We're gonna repair you. Don't worry, but no more wrestling." I was like, "Doc, I've got I got my ducks to get in line. I've got championships. I need to drop these belts. I need to do what's right." So with big debate, we strapped it up, we layered it up, and as you will probably see, those 6 months before, I think I did an unboxing show. I taped that up. I did another show. I taped that up, and then I had to drop the. I was the Chaos champion at the time as well, so I had to drop the Chaos belt, and then I had to lose the Progress belt as well, and I had to get all my ducks in line, and then I had surgery after that. A crazy time for me because it was also very trying, and I had to be quite creative with how I wrestled to make sure I didn't get injured any further. But that's the joys of being a professional, is that you're able to do this. You're able to use your experience to be able to get through these matches when you're hurt. And I lined my ducks up, took the time off, came back. I've gone off subject here. What was the question?
The masks.
We come back, and Nick says to me, "Hey, well, why don't we come back and we'll come back and jump Sanity, but wearing a gimmick, a get up." And we were looking, we're like, "What should we do? What should we do?" We were thinking boiler suits, we were thinking black masks and stuff like that. And Nick goes, "Hey, I love this film, Point Break." Um, and I'd seen it before, and he's talking about the bank robber scene. And he said, "Let's go as the ex-presidents." So there we were about a week before on Amazon trying to find masks and trying to find suits that fit. And I think we did a pretty good job. We looked exactly like they did in the films, and then we jumped them from behind. I personally was done with it after that, but Nick wanted to run with the masks for at least another 3 or 4 months. So that we did, and yeah, it was a nice little change up for us to bring in the masks until we finished the run with Sanity, where we retained the tag team titles, and then after that we moved on.
Absolutely. I want to skip back a little bit, because one thing that you mentioned a couple of minutes ago was about the three-way ladder match at Super Strong Style 2022, if you could believe that. And like I say, it was kind of, we mentioned about Sanity, they weren't part of the match, but it was Insanity, that match. And I've got one little video from my very vantage point up in the balcony that day. And I think this particular spot got a lot of people talking after the match. Here we go. So, and apologies for anybody that was offended by my language there, but that was a God's honest reaction to what was going on there. And I think, a lot of people online, especially when I shared that video, it got over 7 million views, that video alone. And TK Cooper dedicated a whole stream for about 3 hours on the comments off the back of that when I posted it on Twitter, and he just kind of because there was so much kind of criticism of that spot and how dangerous it was, or how not wrestling it was, and how stupid it was to use surfboards and this, that, and the other. I thought it was a genius spot and different to anything I'd seen before, and it worked. And the thing is, it got people talking. It got people kind of, whether they hated it, whether they loved it, it got people talking. But I mean, that match was pure craziness between you guys, and 2-1 and Sunshine Machine. What do you remember about that day in particular?
Well, a true story is that I was trying everything I could to get out of going through that surfboard. And pulling back the curtain a little bit, I was like, "Well, I don't want to go through the surfboard. Someone else can do it." And we there was a spot just before where we did some moves on each other through around the ladder, and it originally ended with Doris going through the surfboard. So I was happy as Larry. I was like, "Great, no problem." And then we're going through it again. I go away, come back. They've changed it. They've moved the direction round, and all of a sudden, I'm going through the surfboard. So I was like, ah. So I had to straighten up a little bit there and say, all right, no problems. I'll go through the damn surfboard. And it got great reaction. Great reaction, of course, bad reaction. But hey, professional wrestling, man, get them talking. There's so much wrestling in this world that you can take it any way you want. You can go right down the real end, or you can go right down the crazy end. It's all subjective. It's all art. Let's all just have a good time and have fun. But yeah, what I remember from it, I remember it hurting like hell afterwards, just coming down
It was a
because you
hell
can
of a
see the
landing.
surfboard.
Hell of a landing.
You can see the surfboard breaks just before, so I come down, the surfboard breaks, so I don't actually hit the surfboard until I hit the ground.
Yeah.
And it's not like a table where it splits in half. It splits into like fibers, so it cut my back to shreds. But um, kudos to the Sunshine Machine, man, Mambo and Coops. They brought the surfboard. They came up with the idea, and we just put it all together and did what we did. And it was a fun match.
There we go, and 7 million views later. But we got Richie, who reached out to us before we went live, and he said that was his favourite ever tag team match from Super Strong Style 3 years ago. And of course, we're approaching this year's Super Strong Style. But thank you so much, Richie, for tuning in and for sending us that comment. And of course, you mentioned that at the time you were part of this group of teams that were building the tag team division in progress, the Smoking Aces, Sunshine Machine, the 0121, and eventually, Lycos Gym and Sanity in 2023, 2024 kind of completed the picture, you could say. But I mean, you guys and you three teams, certainly through 2022 into 2023, you built that division, didn't you? And the chemistry between you three teams, it was always some combination of those three teams on every single show that was pulling off match of the night more often than not every single show. But the chemistry that you three teams had and still have to a certain degree was off the chain.
Yeah, we really had a good time, and we were working hard, and a lot of us sort of had this, and they sort of like wrestling works best when you're all a bit competitive with each other, and that's what we were trying to do, Like 1 month it would be Sunshine Machine 0121, and they go out and have a big banger, then it'd be our turn, and we go, right then, here we go, boys, we're gonna top that one, and then we go and top that one, and then go top this one, and then try and do this one, and it was a really good competitive atmosphere that we had that we maybe didn't acknowledge, or maybe we haven't still acknowledged to this day, that you just don't, but you feel it inside you that you just have that competitive edge. And I'll be honest, like during that time, John, is like I was not only was I tag team champion there at Progress, but and in the tag team scene there, but I was over at OTT tag team champions there as well with Adam Maxted. We were in a different group called the Draw, and we were the main bad guys there, and we were in the stadiums 2,000 plus doing this a similar kind of thing as the big baddies there. And so it was a great time for me professionally to hold tag titles over in both promotions and either be holding the belt at the same time or being in the title picture.
Absolutely. I want to bring up this picture here. We mentioned it before, but Donatus Ranium, and obviously yourself and Nick alongside Bullet as the kind of the big hench guy, and Spike as still possibly the longest reigning Progress men's world champion of all time. But a hell of a run that the four of you went on through 2022, 23, 24. But being part of that faction, it was the leading faction in Progress, holding a lot of the gold, the tag gold of the men's world championship. But what was it like to be a part of that group, to be a part of that, faction? And Spike making his name, making his presence as one of the most hated individuals in British wrestling, European wrestling, and Bullet making his mark as one of the best heavyweights, and the two of you tearing it up as one of the best tag teams, but a red hot faction as well, and very much hated from the Progress fans.
Well, I loved, we were looking for a reason at the time to turn heel with Progress. We were trying to find a reason to get back in because we'd had a few months off at that point. We had done our super strong style match, I think the second tag, maybe. I can't remember what happened, but we were away from Progress at that point, and the idea, there wasn't really an idea for us. We knew we were going to come back and turn heel at some point, but we weren't sure how we were going to do it. And I've always loved that era where McMahon is in charge of the corporate area, and he has his two stooges. He's got Patterson and Briscoe, and maybe Big Show's in the background somewhere. Patterson and Briscoe, and they're the stooges, and they're the ones who work for McMahon. They come down and get beat up by Austin every week. You know what I mean? I absolutely love the idea of that as I used to love it when I was a kid. They come down, oh Jesus, these two again, oh man, and then Austin would beat the crap out of it, and you'd be like, hey! Off they bounce. And that was my idea for Dominate's Regnum. And I went to Progress and I said, hey, Spike's white hot at the moment. How about we chuck me and Nick in as his stooges, as the tag team? And they came back to me and said that sounds like a great idea. And then they went to Spike, and Spike was all for it. Simon was all for it, and then they threw Bullet in as well. They said, well, let's give you an enforcer as well. Bullet was the enforcer, and I think at Manchester we debuted it. We went out in the suits, and I think we turned heel anyway on the Sunshine Machine that night. We were we tag champs at this point? I can't remember. Maybe not. And we then went, no, we weren't, and then we came out and turned heel that night, and it was great. It was great. The four of us together was great fun. I wish we could have taken it on the road. I wish we could have done Dominate's Regnum everywhere, but we just didn't have the time to. But it was a very, very enjoyable time for me because it was what I always wanted to do. I always wanted to work in that situation, in that sort of group, with that character. And I was really able to turn it up in funny ways, in different ways, because you had Spider. He's the straight man. He's the serious baddie, and then the two stooges are me and Nick. So me and Nick can kind of tread the line a little bit between the funny and the serious, and just kind of tread the line a little bit. And we were doing that. Especially in things like when we had Lycos Jim, because that was our big competition at that time. Like, he was going for Spike for the championship, and that they were our main adversaries, and we would have those matches with them, either whether it was the 6-man tags on the house shows in Manchester, or down back at the ballroom again where we do the street fight, and the whole setup for that street fight. We did a promo at the start of that show. It was just a very, very enjoyable time for me as a wrestler. I was able to creatively enjoy it. I was definitely being more my creative side was definitely showing there, 100%. I know Nick enjoyed it too.
Yeah, and you mentioned about the street fight you had. Now, I think it was their October show in 2023, their Halloween show, and that tag team street fight. And I remember it very well because I was working the Progress merch table that day. And I don't know if you remember, but I reminded Kid Lycos 2 of this back in January. But I think it might have been yourself that powerbombed Kid Lycos 2 through the very same merch table that afternoon and sent my T-shirts flying absolutely everywhere. So I just wanted to thank you personally for upsetting my afternoon. And I've never refolded so many T-shirts so quickly in all my life.
Yeah, that's what I like to do. Like to interrupt the status quo.
But it was good fun.
I want to bring up any flow. I want to interrupt it.
I want to bring up some pictures, and this is, you mentioned them earlier, but Sanity, and you've had your battles with Sanity, Big Damo, and Axel, yourself and Nick through 2023, 2024, and some tremendous battles. And as you mentioned, you kind of returned under the new guise, the kind of the ex-president's masks, when you kind of made your return from injury back in 24. But Sanity, obviously, you look at what they've achieved individually over the years. The singles competitors put them together as this formidable duo, and then you put yourself and Nick on the opposite side of the ring. But whenever you went out there and had a battle with Sanity, it looked like the four of you were just having so much fun.
I think across 23 and 24, I wrestled Damo like 10 times, 10, 11. We just could not get away from each other. If we were in, we
Inseparable.
might, we were in Dublin wrestling, we were in Bristol wrestling, we were in London wrestling each other. Like, and he's a great guy, and you should try and get him on here as well. He's I don't know if you have before, but
I've had
he's
everybody, yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, I thought so. And he's a wonderful talent, and he's a real what we call locker room leader. He comes in and he brings a wealth of experience and knowledge that many don't have. Did you know he's in the only 5-star ladder match in history? I learned that bit of knowledge the other day.
Was this the one to take over New Orleans in 2018?
I think so, yeah. But that's the only
Because I
5-star
was there
match
as
in
well.
history. Oh, there you go. That's 5-star that one. That's the only 5-star
It
one.
was a tremendous ladder match.
Yeah, and but he's a great talent, and a really good guy. And he has been very helpful in helping me the last 2 years, especially as a wrestler. And big shout out to him. I talked to him a lot, and yeah, we battled each other so many times, man. Do you know what? We wrestled each other in Wolves, right? We've planned this match. Match is fine. Match is going well. We're in the hangar, and I great. I was great. I was loving this. I was like, great. Means the heel. Damon's the baby face. He's gonna beat me up. We're gonna have a great time. And I was really enjoying the match. We could hear a sparkle in the background after I'd give him like a move, and a sparkle was going off in the background. And in the hangar, they've got these giant speakers. And then gradually the spark is getting louder and louder and louder and louder, to the point where I can't hear what's going on. And I look to the left, and people are running away from the speaker. But the speaker is just whatever happened. Apparently, somebody maybe spilt some water on a music desk or something like that. We don't know what happened, but the speaker just went off like as loud as you've ever heard. And we just went to the finish, 1, 2, 3, got out of there. But the speaker was still going off, and it sounded like bullets hitting the floor. It was insane for about until somebody cut the speaker off. But completely ruined our match, and I attacked the speaker afterwards to a nice pop. But that's a story for you. That's how it can happen in the match sometimes. Something could just go wrong, and I'm glad I was in there with Davo, because he just said, let's go home. So I was like, all right, 1, 2, 3, and yeah, crazy
That's it.
moment.
Would it be a speaker or a bottom rope snapping? You're a creative guy. You just got to adapt.
You do, yeah, and like I said, like anything can happen, man. And you just gotta. It's live entertainment. Anything can happen, and that's like people use the word botches a lot, and when things go wrong in wrestling, like things are gonna go wrong because, man, it's live. Like it's live.
Absolutely.
Nothing
Absolutely.
we do is
It's
fake. What you see is what you see.
It's as real can be. And but
But
yes, I had Damo was a
all
great
right.
guest maybe a year and a half ago. We spoke about kind of that ladder match in detail, but he is legit a great guy. But I wouldn't want to kind of spill his Guinness. That's the only thing. I wouldn't want to piss him off by spilling a Guinness of his.
Oh,
He'll
right.
be a big unhappy chappy.
So we were in the last match we did. We did a street fight. I think we did again. We were in double denim, and I've got this bin in my hand, and I get the bin, and I go, right. I whack him on top of the head with it. I go, oh, cool. And I go, right, you have another one of those. Whack him again, bang. But what happens usually with the bin is it usually just bends in. Well, this bin decided to split in half, like so the side of it just went in like this, so it left a really sharp edge here. And so I've gone, right, that's it. I've not seen the sharp edge, and he's selling like this, and I've come off the middle, bang, dropped this bin on him, and because I haven't seen the sharp edge has just gone bang right in between his nose there.
Oh,
Looked it away, and I just see Damo's nose just do blood all down that, and I'm going, oh my God, of all the people I've hit with a ladder, it's this man. Well, to be fair, he had a kendo stick in his hand about 3 minutes later, and I
I'm sure he
quickly,
let you have it.
I quickly
I'm
found
sure he
out
let you
what
have
they
it.
felt like. All good though.
I just
All good though. He was fine. But,
one more thing on progress, and of course we've mentioned about Nick Riley retiring, and of course that also has an impact on the Smoking Aces. And of course you are one half of the three-time Progress World Tag Team Champions, but we have this match here to look forward to at the end of the month, March the 30th, back in the Ballroom, the spiritual home of Progress Wrestling in Camden. And for one final time, it will be the Smoking Aces putting their Progress World Tag Team Championships on the line against bitter foes, rivals, the Sunshine Machine, and kind of taking us full circle, really, back to 2022, 2023, when you guys were, running hard in a Progress ring, chasing after them titles. But to do it one last time, one last match with Nickel, by your side against Sunshine Machine, that's going to be maybe, a fun but possibly a bittersweet, emotional day for you guys.
hey, Jonas, this is it. This is it. This is it. If the Sunshine Machine lose, they don't get another shot at the titles. If we lose, the Smoking Aces are no more. If we win, we carry on as champions, and maybe Nick retires as Progress Tag Team Champion. He can do whatever he wants at that point. I don't care. But he will. I'll find another partner. But the real question is, Jonas, will TK Cooper make it? Because he has had visa issues. He's currently in New Zealand in the sun as we speak. 25 degrees it is there with the sun blaring through the clouds. Sorry, not a cloud in the sky. And we don't know if he's going to get back. He's had some visa issues. Shoot, this is real. He's got visa issues and we don't know if he's going to get back or not. So who knows what's going to happen on the day? We don't even know if Cooper's going to be there.
Could be 2-on-1. Could be a handicap match.
Could be 2-on-1. It could be forfeit, and it could be. Well, I prefer forfeit, but we'll see what happens on the day because generally this is genuine, shoot, real life. We don't know if he's going to make it back or not because I know he's got visa issues. I don't know what situation he is currently at the moment, but I know he's over in New Zealand, and I think it's touch and go.
I'm sure Progress Management have it all in hand. I'm sure they do. Let's hope. Let's hope.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Let's jump to some questions. We had a ton of questions come in. First of all, we got Trevor watching us at home live on YouTube. This is awesome, and he's really enjoying this interview with Charlie Sung. So thank you very much, Trevor. Keep sending in your questions, and thank you for tuning in. We got Ref Josh watching us live at home on YouTube that he misses Charlie and Yeston tag team in. Refresh us of that. We probably spoke about it on your first interview a few years back, but Ref Josh is was a big fan of yourself teaming with Yeston. So of course you're both kind of in the mix with SWW at the moment, but both are singles competitors. Did you have fond memories of teaming with Yeston?
No, none at all.
I didn't think so.
No fun memories of tagging with Yeston whatsoever. He looked so good compared to me. I was just a young boy. He was this grown, massive, muscular man.
Gorilla, isn't he?
He dwarfed me, and no fond memories at all. Great guy though, Yeston. Really helps the boys. He's a physiotherapist by trade, and looks after the boys and the girls to no end. So big shout out to Yes. He's a great guy and a good friend.
He is a great guy. And we've got Megan watching at home live via YouTube. Hey, Charlie, would you come back to ASW South to do another show? So obviously Joel's promotion, ASW South, and he runs out of the Salisbury Theatre there in Salisbury, puts on some fantastic shows, and you've been a part of one or two in the past. Megan's asking if you'd like to come back.
Hi, Megan. Yes, I'd love to come back. I'll never say no to coming down. I'll never come down to see. I'll never say no to come down and see Joel and the team he has there. Great school, and obviously Joel has a wonderful reputation as a trainer, and very experienced. Helped me out as we mentioned in my last podcast with you, last interview. He has helped me a lot in my career, and yeah. I'm looking forward to going back down there again. I will. Not sure when. I'm sure we'll have a conversation in coming months. Joel's shows always clash with the other shows. That's the only problem. So when an opportunity arises, I'll be back, no doubt.
Absolutely. And Richie, once again, watching us live via YouTube at home. What's your favourite match, your favourite tag match in progress? Richie is asking.
Does he mean generally, or does he mean like one of my
Yeah. So
matches?
I mean, do you have one match that really stands out as being your favourite tag match during your progress run?
That's a good question.
And
I love
we
them
know
all.
you've had a whole load of bangers in the ballroom and across
Yeah,
the country for
I,
progress,
I,
but
I, I thoroughly. I mean, I mentioned the street fight before with Lycos Jim. That was a really, really fun one for us creatively to be able to just go in there and mash it up. It was our first main event, I think, for a while. We main evented. It was great fun. We had a really good one with the Sunshine Machine in Manchester, where we introduced Dominate's Reign. That was a really fun match of ours at Progress. Um, Rest of the Subculture, that was a fun match too. God, honestly, we've had so many. I'm sort of not giving you one here. I'm giving you a few,
uh,
but it's really hard to say. But I'd say the street fight against the Lycos Gym was one of my Nick's favorites.
yeah, no, I completely agree. Apart from my poor old merch table, we'll skip over that. We won't talk about that.
Well,
But
your merch table did a wonderful sacrifice that night, Johnny.
Melissa watching us live at home. Hi, Charlie. What's your opinion on Spike Trivet? So, obviously, since Spike lost the World Championship, we haven't seen him so much, certainly in the ballroom, but I've seen him a lot for other promotions around the UK, and he's looking better than ever before. And I think he's putting on the best matches of his career, 2024 into 2025. I think he really is putting in his best work now, better and more so than when he was the world champion. So that's a frightening thought, isn't it? But what's your opinion on Spike?
I've always got big respect for wrestlers who just give themselves to the business, gives themselves to the job. We love wrestling, and the only way we can really show you how much we love wrestling is what we do in the ring, right? And I think creatively, Simon Spike is a great wrestler, and I was ringside in that cage match against Kid Lycos, and he gave his body to Progress that day, and I have immense respect for him for that. So I think he's a great talent, and oh, no doubt I'll see him down the line somewhere. But yeah, I really think he's a great talent. And like I said, I have a great respect for those who give their all to this. And I know he gave a lot of himself, both physically and mentally, to that character at Progress. And that's why he did so well. And in the cage, yeah, he gave his body, and you can't, you can't not respect that. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Spike
hell of a
Gervais, great
talent.
wrestler.
And he's getting better and better. I want to talk to you about OTT now, because I know you've got a long history with OTT, possibly stretching back as far as maybe 2016 or thereabouts. You've been going over there on a
2014.
regular basis. 2014 was it? Wow. Cage match is wrong once again. But I want to bring up this picture here because last year they crowned their very first OTT European champion. You are that man. You are the very first OTT European champion. And considering your long history, which, as you just corrected me, stretches over 10 years now, what does it mean to you? You've been their tag team champions before, as you mentioned, with Adam Maxted, but to be their very first OTT European champion, what does that mean to you?
Well, I'll be honest with you, it's a great honor. I consider OTT my home promotion, interestingly enough, just because that's where sort of I began to make my name really on the scene, and it's where I started getting noticed around that 2015-16 time. Joe gave me a chance. And the reason why I say 14 is because that's when I met Joe, and
Mm,
I actually debuted at OTT in 2015, and I had a great run. We worked together with Shaw, Zach Gibson as the Rapture, and we were tag team champions then. And when we tore up that stadium with Gibson on the microphone, wow! And just as a heel group, it's kind of the continuous pattern of my career over the last 10 years has been be a bad guy, get in a group, be a bad guy, get in a group, win tag team gold, wherever it is. I must fit the mold very well. And and as of course recently, I've won my first singles title at a major promotion. I've been Chaos Champion, but OTT European Champion is really does mean something to me, and I look forward to seeing where I can go with this belt in the coming months and seeing what competitors step up to wrestle me. I mean, there's one or two guys out there. I think I beat Santos on the night. Um, I know he's got some trouble with me, so I'm sure I'm sure I'll see him down the line. Me and Santos for the European title. That'll be one to look at.
Absolutely, and OTT are one of them promotions that just seem to get bigger and better and stronger and louder every single year. So really excited to see what 2025 has in store for OTT and what you have in store as their European champion. But I just want to skip back briefly to Nick Riley and something else that he said in the documentary. And he said that when he does eventually step away, as we know, his final match is going to be April the 26th for Chaos. But when he does eventually step away, that he's hoping that that will kind of help you to kind of have more of the spotlight as a singles competitor of your own. Now, you've just mentioned that you're holding a singles gold for OTT, or former Pro Wrestling Chaos singles champion, and you've won numerous other singles titles in your career, but you're I think, predominantly known as a tag team performer because of the success and all the fantastic matches and storylines that you've been a part of. Would you kind of agree with that sentiment and with what Nick says, that when he does finally step away, that will then kind of mean that the entire spotlight's on you and you can kind of attain that next level in your career?
Yeah, I agree completely with that statement. I believe I have been a tag team wrestler for the longest time, and even when I spoke to you, it was the same situation. I was a tag team wrestler then, and I'm still a tag team wrestler now until Nick retires next month, and I'm not a tag team wrestler anymore. It's going to be an interesting few months for me. The next 6 months for me is going to be fun. We're going to look at developing further character, changing things up a bit, and seeing what sticks. Because Charlie Sterling is a professional wrestler that is only growing every month. So once the tag team, the Smoking Aces, comes to an end, when Nick retires, I will be looking to move forward as a singles wrestler, a competitor. And what incarnation of Charlie Sterling you see then, we'll have to wait and see. But I promise you, it will be exciting, it will be fun, and it'll be worth every pound.
100%, absolutely. One match in particular I want to ask you about, and I just kind of, it fascinated me. And of course, we had Pro Wrestling Noah over on these shores last year when they did a UK tour, and you were part of one of them shows going up against Inamura, who I think is now part of the NXT brand over in Florida, the WWE NXT, doing some great things there. But getting the opportunity last September to perform under the Pro Wrestling Noah banner brand for that one time to go up against Inamura. What was that like as an overall experience?
It was an honor. It was a wonderful moment of my career, in my career, being able to wrestle for Pro Wrestling Noah. Inamura, I've actually known him for a little while now, since he's been coming over with Progress, and we got bonded a little bit and spoke a little bit and watched my wrestling. I watched his wrestling, and we connected a little bit in that way. And the true story is that I dropped, literally, I dropped the Noah office a message. Like, I said, "Hey, this wasn't a Progress doing. This was Progress with the facilitators, and no, it was Noah's show." And I just said, "Hey, if there's a spot for a heavyweight, let me know." And I got the call. And Inamura, Inamura, I think, requested to wrestle me, and I ended up wrestling him. So it was a great match. We had a great, fine heavyweight contest where we were different than everything else on the show, and I was truly honored to be a part of it. Um, hopefully, hopefully that match has made it to someone in the office at Noah, and we may see me go to Japan at some point soon. That would be great. But apart from that, it was a great experience, and I came out with a loss, unfortunately, but I came down close.
Indeed, and Darren must have read your mind, because Darren sent in he's watching this live on YouTube. Considering you wrestled in Noah over here, would you love to wrestle over in Japan? I think, considering your size and your style, I think you'd be a perfect fit for one or two of the Japanese promotions over there. Has Japan always been on your radar?
Yes, Japan is a dream of mine. I absolutely want to go, and I will make it happen. It's going to be this year, maybe next year, but I will be there. Keep an eye on me. I will be definitely going over at some point. Yeah, I want to be the big scary guardian chasing around the Japanese guys. So I'll enjoy that. Great fun. But
Watch
yeah,
this space.
yeah.
Indeed.
Please
And
watch the space. Please watch the space because I it's a dream of mine.
I'm sure it'll happen. Darren, thank you so much. And Richie, one more time. Now, obviously, Richie is obviously looking forward to being more of a singles competitor in your own right. And he's asking, could we possibly see your name in the hat for Super Strong Style this year? We know Super Strong Style is just around the corner. You'll be a fully fledged singles competitor on the Progress brand, hopefully by then. But he's asking Super Strong Style, it'd be your first tournament if it were to happen.
Yeah, you're right. It would be. And I think the plan was I was planned to go in last year, but injury came about my way, so I missed out. I haven't had a chat with them yet. Hopefully, this will be something that happens. I mean, it makes perfect sense. So hopefully, hopefully my name will be in the hat for Strong Style 16 this year.
Absolutely. We've got a few more questions before we wrap up, and I'm going to bring up some pictures of some individuals you've had some encounters with that are kind of red hot on the UKC.
Ooh, okay.
And now, just to kind of get your snapshot thoughts and opinions on one or two of these, but one person in particular is this guy here, the current
Oh,
SWW heavyweight champion JJ Gale. Now, I know that you've had your battles with JJ in a Rev Pro ring, and once before for his title in SWW, and we'll talk about kind of the other hot topic, Mr. Zach Knight, very, very soon. But JJ Gale, first of all, a hell of a competitor, has really, really come into his own over the last couple of years, showing why he is one of the best performers, athletes, wrestlers in the UK. And he's only going to get kind of a bigger and better throughout 2025 and beyond. But JJ Gale, a hell of a competitor, and like I say, he's the current SWW heavyweight champion.
a lot of time for JJ. A lot of respect for the boy. He's done so well over the last few years, hasn't he? Could really come up, and wrestling with him was a joy. And you don't get to say that about too many wrestlers, because you're working against each other, you're wrestling. Sometimes it's not always a joy. Wrestling JJ is actually a joy. He's a great talent, great to work with, and he will go very, very far, I am sure, especially under the Rev Pro banner. If you've got a big company behind you, like Rev
Yeah.
Pro, Progress, OTT, you're only going one way, and that is up. And that's the way JJ is going. He's been a fine champion at SWW. I battled him to the inch of his life in December last year, and I'm looking to do it again. By the way,
Mm.
I want that championship. So, and if anyone in that company is going to take it from him, it will be me.
There we go. And what about these guys here? Absolutely tearing it up across the UK and North America. I think they probably hold more championships than they're actually holding in that picture. But Jordan Sparks, Toby St. John, the Blockbusters, and a real throwback act with, a mix of kind of like the NWA from the 1980s and 1990s. They are the Blockbusters, so there's elements of the Hollywood Blonde, Steve Austin and Brian Pillman from the early 90s, who are one of my all-time favorite tag teams. And they certainly bring out the new school as well. But the Blockbusters, Jordan and Toby, I've got to say, I think one of the best tag teams in the world.
Yeah, great comment. I think they're coming on really well as a team. They're two great young talents from the south of the country, I know, and yeah, I mean they're only going to grow strength to strength, and I think they're due to go back out to America soon. And I say watch the space with those boys because they look great, they wrestle great, they tag great. What else can you ask for?
Yeah, fantastic. And like I say, they're young enough. They got their full careers ahead of them. And considering what they've achieved so far, I'm really excited for their future.
Mm.
Right. I never like to upset my guests, but I'm going to bring up this picture here. What about this gentleman right there? Zach Knight. Now, we know that the two of you went to war in an SWW ring maybe about a year ago, maybe just over a year. I think that was in the Trinity Centre in Bristol. And we have that to look forward to all over again. April the 20th. Back inside the Trinity Centre in Bristol, your hometown, for this time a Bristol street fights. You two have issues, and certainly if you think back to what happened a couple of months ago at the end of January, the Cheltenham Town Hall, where you interfered in the main event, which featured Chris Bronson, JJ Gale, and Zach Knight. You essentially kind of pulled him over the top rope, and he cut a scathing promo on you after that match. And likewise, you cut a scathing promo on him. There's no love lost between Charlie Sterling and Zach Knight. But looking ahead, SWW Southwest Wrestling, April the 20th in your hometown, the Bristol Street Fight. That's going to be an absolute war, isn't it, Charlie?
I mean, you said it best yourself. You've pretty much explained everything.
Mm.
What's recently just happened, yeah, between Charlie Sterling and Zach Knight, and the two wrestlers are at each other's throats. We've interrupted each other. We've beat each other up. We've stopped each other's opportunities, and in April, I think we are going to go at each other in a pretty big street fight. There's also going to be hopefully a little surprise on that show too. So if you haven't bought tickets already, make sure you come along and watch, because there's going to be a fun little additive to that show, to that match, which you'll enjoy. Now, speaking about Zach Knight from a performer point of view, I have a great deal of respect for him and his family. I think him and Ricky Knight Jr. are two of the best wrestlers on the scene. I mean, they just bring something different than what others do, and they have that star quality that when you watch, you can't take your eyes off them. And I think that's such a quality in a wrestler that you need to look for when you watch him wrestle or her wrestle. Can you take your eyes off them for a second, because you never know what's going to happen? And I think that's a real credit of theirs. I watched that match, the three-way at Cheltenham, and I had my eye on Zach Knight the whole time. He was just running right around the place, and you just never know what he's going to get up to. And I think that unpredictable nature of a wrestler is, in my opinion, one of the star qualities that you should look for in a wrestler. And if you can't take your eyes off him, that's already a good sign. And that's something that they both Ricky Knight Jr. and Zach Knight Jr. and as far, his uncle Roy, Zach's uncle, like dad. Oh, I kind of Zach's brother Roy.
Yeah, it's RKJ's dad, isn't it? Yeah.
RKJ's dad. I mean, he had the same quality. You watch them wrestle, you couldn't take your eyes off what they do. And I have a great deal of respect for them as performers, and I'm really looking forward to getting in a ring again with them. But Charlie Sterling is not, though. He doesn't want to fight Zach Knight in a street fight. He wants to batter him. He's going to attack him for the bell. He's going to do all kinds of cheap ways to get a hold of him, because Zach Knight is extremely dangerous, and he needs to be knocked down.
Well, I mean, SWW are a company that I've got a close association with. I've been their backstage host for a few years now, but I think that they are definitely a company. I've been saying this for a while. They're a company on the rise, but I just think they're getting hotter and better. And like I say, you going after Zach Knight in Bristol in April, and then, like I say, you got one eye, maybe two eyes on JJ Gale in that heavyweight championship. So there's so much to look forward to in SWW. So if you haven't been down to an SWW show, if you haven't sampled an SWW show, they run out of kind of Gloucester, Tewkesbury, Stroud, Cheltenham, all over the south of England as well. They are literally all over the southwest, but get yourself down there, because it really is the best action, the best wrestlers, and some of the best stories you're likely to see anywhere. But
yeah, definitely
that's my for SWW.
Yeah, they're definitely a more how can I put it? They're a quieter company on terms of the social medias and things like that. They're building themselves up slowly there, but definitely worth a watch if you want to see different wrestlers in the city. Then absolutely Bristol, obviously. Pro Wrestling Chaos is another company as well that you should definitely check out. It's one of my favorite promotions. SWW, they're also one of my favorite promotions. I like wrestling for both of them, and you see different characters. You may see some of the same wrestlers, but usually different characters in each promotion. So you should definitely go and check both promotions out in Bristol, especially.
Yeah, and I know we started this conversation at the top of the hour about how hot the UK scene is right now. We know that it was at its hottest 2015, 2016, 2017. But I think that a lot of UK promotions back then, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of UK promotions back then were getting in a lot of imports on a lot of shows. And, that was the main kind of hot ticket was come to this show, you'll see the UK talent, but you'll see this big American star, for example. after the pandemic, when the doors reopened, they didn't necessarily have that luxury UK promotions. And of course, they were starting from, from ground zero because a lot of the top talent had been signed, the subsequent few years. I think what's happened since 2021 and 2022 is you've seen this crop of new talent, this crop of young talent, this grassroots talent that was maybe bubbling under the surface beforehand, now kind of forced into prominence and given the position, given the limelights, given the top spots. And I think that British wrestling, because of that, because it's a lot more homegrown talent and younger talent, and now a mix of the old established guard coming back in with the closure of NXT UK, it really is a fantastic time to be a wrestling fan in the UK, isn't it?
Well, I think the WWE right now as a whole will tell you how popular wrestling is, right?
Yeah.
Like we said the boom in 2017 was big. I think we're on the premise of something just as big. Like the business right now is booming. The WWE has never been more popular than what it has been in the last like 20 odd years. That's only going to reflect, that's only going to push more on down the line, down the ladder, on us, on the UK scene, beat the Welsh scene, the English
Yeah.
scene, Scottish scene, Irish scene, across the whole, like you see in France, they're setting up buildings in France, all kinds of places these indies are doing well. And it's only just because WWE, the big machine, is doing so well. Um, it's only going to do better for us. And man, I watch WWE every week. I absolutely love it. And I keep my eye on what's going on. And I think where it's so hot at the moment, it's only going to make wrestling hot here. And yeah, it's a testament to how well they're doing. It's only good for the business. If they do well,
Absolutely.
we do well. And I
Absolutely.
think we are. I think we are on the premise of another boom. And I know the American indies are really hot right now. So hopefully the UK ones can be at that level again. But hey, who's to say we're not? OTT put 2,500 people in a building when they want to run wrestling shows. North put 800 people in a building. Yeah, the Progress shows put 500, 600, 700 people in a building. Well, depending on what year it is. Rev
Rev
Pro
Pro in the
put all
copper
those
box
people in
ones.
Copper
Yeah.
Box, right? And over here in Wales, you've got about 9 million promotions, but they're all filling buildings, are all filling promotions. New Wave, they run a monthly show in the church in Cardiff. It's great. You guys should go along and check it out. If you can get tickets, because it's very small, it's about a capacity of 80 to 100 people, but you've got young talent and good talent as well, established talent too, that are really burning it up in that place, and they run it every single month. So get across to there and check them out too, because not only do they run a great school, but Brendan also runs great shows in that venue too.
Yeah, and I was going to say that there's some fantastic schools, possibly some of the best schools in the world right here in the UK. But we're going to talk a bit about merch now and a bit about your socials, Charlie, because as his episode of Wrestling with Johners comes to an end, we do have to wrap, unfortunately. But I'm sure many of my viewers and listeners will love to know where to reach out, where to learn more about Charlie Sterling, and to find out where they can possibly see you wrestle. So I know I've got your Instagram and your X scrolling along the bottom. Tell us a little bit about where we can find you.
Yeah, check me out on Instagram. Check me out on Twitter. I'm not too active on Twitter nowadays, but my Instagram is always active. I'm always doing things on there, not only just in my wrestling life, but in my personal life as well. I love to share what I do with the people who are watching and the fans at home. You can check out my merchandise over at my big cartel. There's a link in my bio on Instagram. There it is there. Lovely. I've just released a new t-shirt. Please check
Loving
it
the new
out.
t-shirt.
I'll give you one for a special price there, John, as when we see
We'll
each other
talk
next.
afterwards. We'll talk afterwards.
um, and and yeah, you can check me out on those problems. I'm on TikTok as well. Same thing. C Sterling Pro. Check out my TikTok. It's more than things you see on Instagram, but I'm active there as well. Have a little look.
I also want to say your beard game is on point in 2025.
Oh, thank you.
It's an absolutely beautiful beard, my friend. A lot of conditioner and a lot of maintenance has gone into that, I'm sure. But that's been maybe an addition to your appearance over the last 6 months or so.
For sure, absolutely. I've always wanted to grow it. Nick hates it. Hates my beard. He hates it. He preferred it when I had a stubble, but he hates my beard now, so I make sure I keep it just to wind him up. And I think it looks great, and he can't stand it. Do you know what? There's a fun story about Nick, right? So you remember he had long hair,
Yeah.
and now he's got short hair. So I literally wake up one day, we're the Smoking Aces, we've got a brand going, we're building something here. Two lads, long hair, all right? With a bit of stubble, a bit of beard, we look great. We've got such matching singlets, matching hair, we're a matching tag team. He wakes up one morning, shaves it off, just shaves the hair off. He's been going on about it for months. He's like, oh, I want to cut it off, I want to cut it off. And I'm like, don't cut it off. Don't cut it off. Wait. Let's let's do a thing. Let's do a thing. Let's do an online thing. Let's get something together. Let's make it a thing before you cut that hair off. Okay, all right, no problem. Saturday morning, cuts it straight off, bang, just rings me. Hey, buddy, check this out. Short hair. Broke my heart, Jonas.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Broke it.
There
Broke
you
it into
go.
a million pieces. I've never forgiven him. And in fact, I'm not forgiven him. You've just reminded me. I'm fuming with him. I'm angry. I'm going to call him after this and tell him off.
There you go. There you go. But you've been a wonderful guest for episode 379. And like I say, it's been getting close to 4 years since we last had you on. We shouldn't leave it so long next time. Richie again saying beard war. Well, I don't know. I think Charlie's won the beard war. And it's certainly, if you're including my beard, I can't grow it any more than this. I do my very best. But Charlie Sterling, if you've got any parting words for our audience at home that have watched you for nearly an hour and a half, but has maybe followed your journey or learned more about you today, any parting words from Charlie Sterling to finish off this wonderful episode of Wrestling with Johners?
Yeah, just keep an eye on my socials for anything going on with me and Charlie Sterling. It's a crazy world out there right now, and crazy things are happening. But one thing it always remains the same, and that is pro wrestling is still the best thing in the world. So you can keep an eye on wrestling and watch wrestling. It'll take your mind off of all that crazy shit, mad stuff that's going out there right now, because it is a mad world. And if anybody watches my stuff and enjoys it, and I just want to say thank you for the support, and continue to keep an eye on me, because the next few years for Charlie Sterling is going to be fun, be different, and I'm going to be looking to advance my career in ways never seen before. And hopefully, Jonas won't wait 3 years until he gets back on here again.
I'll ask you much sooner next time. I'll ask you much sooner. But you're definitely going to be taking your career to the next level or next levels. And I certainly can't wait to see what that looks like for Charlie Sterling. But thank you so much, my friend, for gracing us with your presence once again. And we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonas. See you.